Greetings, Guardians, my name is Byfear. So, with Act 2 of Revenant, we learned that there's a voice that's begun singing from within the echo that's owned by Fikrul, the fanatic. But the question still remains, whose voice is this? Today, I wanted to look at two potential characters who might actually fit the bill for this individual, and I wanted to talk about the story ramifications that we might see from all of this. For those of you who don't understand the situation, I think it's actually pretty well summarized by the cutscene from Echoes Act 2. So here, take a quick listen.
Skolas. He lives. Do you see it, Guardian? Memory of Reef Wars long ago. Years of hubris and bloodshed. The fallen House of Wolves, led by Skolas the Rabid. The song. A whirlwind dirge. A seeking song for the lost. But, Lyrics does not recognize the singer. The echo. It is the echo that sings to us, Guardian. Sings of Reese through our memories. It seeks an old strength. Strength to guide the scattered through a time of doubt and wrath. But it sees now how Fikrul wields its power. False life for an army of the slain, with those like Skolas for his pawns. The echo seeks another wielder. It demands one who is worthy.
So, there's a voice in the echo that's singing an old dirge of Reese, and it's calling out looking for someone who's worthy enough to guide the Elixni through a time of great uncertainty and peril, an old strength of sorts. It sings of hope from a time when Reese had been cast into utter darkness. It's a voice that isn't known to Variks, but it sings to the Elixni from its own memories. It also sees that Fikrul wields its power for ill, and it understands that it will simply be used to raise the dead to serve Fikrul's whims, which lack virtue. This is the reason that we can hear it singing. It is reaching out for one who is worthy of wielding it, a new champion. Compounding all the things that we know, the memory of whoever lies within the echo this time is a specific character, and we can already tell a few things about them. Firstly, they are an Elixni from Old Reese. Secondly, Variks does not recognize them, or at least doesn't recognize their voice, although this still doesn't narrow things down completely. Thirdly, they see what Fikrul is doing, and they understand that it is evil. They are aligned against him. And fourthly, they sing. Maybe habitually, maybe as a point of practice, maybe as something that is more formal, but it would appear that the song is something of Old Reese as well. If the lore wasn't as specific and expansive as it is, we'd frankly have no easy way of even guessing at who's inside the echo, but today I think I want to take a crack at it and talk about a couple of possibilities. The first possibility, though, is one that I discussed myself with a few friends, and one that I quickly want to debunk, because it's one that I thought on a lot, and it's one that would be nicely linked into Aramis's storyline, but after some further investigations and some recounting of old lore, I'm pretty sure that this isn't Aramis's mate, Arthras. The reasons some might have jumped to this conclusion, myself included, were fairly obvious. One of the only extended bits of lore that we get about Arthras is from the exotic that bears her name, Arthras's Embrace. This exotic, aka the Bounce Knife, has an entire lore tab that is literally just the lyrics of a song, It's hard to tell without sheet music or anything of the sort to put alongside it, but it seems like it's a children's lullaby rather than anything else. Having her singing from the echo itself would have also been a great way to redeem Eramis in a certain sense, because Arthurius is a bit of a beacon that's really pulled her back with the chance of redemption. If Arthurius is in the echo, it brings about a tragic moment for Eramis where she realizes the depths to which the witness used her, whilst also killing the one she loved. But with Arthurius being the echo, this also leads Arthurius to the chance of redeeming her mate by pushing her back to a stance of uniting the other Eliksni. If she even deems one such as Ida worthy, she might push Eramis to take up the role of an old protector, one that would work alongside the House of Light and effectively end all the Eliksni conflict. Now, it isn't impossible that this is Arthurius, but I think that there are a few roadblocks to this possibility. The first and most important one that I'm not going to go too much into detail on is that we don't know if Arthurius is dead. There is actually a decent chance that she is still alive. Also, we should look at the idea that whilst Arthurius was an Eliksni of Old Rhys, and whilst she does have a prominent bit of song in the lore, the Song of the Echo was one which Varix didn't recognize. This is an important distinction because Varix describes Eramis and Arthurius as old friends. The description of the Echo's voice as being one that Varix doesn't know makes for a bit of a dampener on the idea that this might therefore be Arthurius. It's entirely possible that he's just never heard her sing, and that maybe he's forgotten after it's been so long, but I still think it'd be reasonable to assume that he'd recognize her voice. We know that Arthurius, Eramis, and Varix were old friends because there's lore on this, which you can find on Ishtar Collective. Remember way back in Beyond Light? Maybe you don't, but when you went to Varix back in the day, you could accomplish certain global challenges that would give you bonuses and potentially reward Here Always pieces. This is something that's key to Beyond Light and really only specific to Europa. We had challenges associated with the destination generally, and each of them had lore blurbs. One of them reads, Varix recalls a dear friend from before the whirlwind, Arthurius. She was an artisan, kind, wise, clever. Varix feels her absence even now. Varix the Loyal. So, this seems to pour water on the idea that this is Arthurius within the Echo. Not only that, but Arthurius was able to survive the whirlwind, and she even made it all the way to Sol before leaving the system. So I should also clarify that, sure, it's not impossible that the witness killed her, because after all, it did invade Sol from all angles as well, and she might have run into it as she left Sol, but this voice feels like it's implied to be one of Old Rhys itself that has perished. So, if this isn't Arthurius, well, who is it? We do have a second possibility, one that is much stronger. In the Garden Way lore book, we see the story unfolding that follows the Slayer Baron Karaskis and her new apprentice that follows her on a specific hunt. That's still a script I need to finish, and it's a lore book that I need to read in full, and I promise I will get to it soon because, oh, it's such a good lore book. Seriously, it is some of the best stuff. It's the same quality of writing that I would expect out of something like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and throw out a name that you'll all recognize if you're lore junkies. I think it's got Book of Sorrows tier quality to it. Not just for the fact that it reveals an ancient civilization and all of the things that happened within their bounds, but also because it's got brilliant little descriptions of everything. It doesn't flow like poetry because it's a first-person perspective, but it's still wonderful to approach. Either way, enough about me gushing about a lore book and going off script entirely. For the moment, there's an important passage to note from the last entry, which sees the Slayer Baron wandering off as she's been wounded but still needs to report information to House Judgment. Her apprentice is left to wait alongside a figure of legendary proportions in the lore of the Eliksni. Her name is Chelchis, the Kell of Stone. She's someone we'll talk about in a second, but for the moment, listen out for the very last bit of this lore book. It's very important. I knew Baron Karaskis was still in pain because she did not shrug off Chelchis's assistance in stepping out of the watercraft. Karaskis reached out to take the shank from my hands. I will speak to House Judgment. and report our findings." She hesitated. "Chelchis Kell can keep an eye out for you until I return." We both watched Baron Karaskis pull her cloak tight around herself and limp away toward the palace doors. Chelchis stared at me, and I worried she would ask me for an explanation. But instead, Chelchis grunted, as if something had been decided, and leaned against a nearby pillar. I felt the weight of the past couple of days settle onto me. I was tired, but my body was not convinced it was safe to rest. I felt alert and exhausted all at once. I hugged my arms to myself and waited. Sometime into the silence, Chelchis began to sing quietly. It was not a tune I recognized, but beautiful in its lilting sweetness. I thought of voices raised together in song in shared rooms. I thought of long nights playing find sneak with friends, long before any of us had to worry about our purpose. In my chest, I felt a hollow ache like grief. "What is it?" Chelchis asked. I startled and looked up at her. What could I possibly say to a Kell that wouldn't just be wasting her time? "Oh, no. It's just... your song is sad." Had she taken offense, she could have pulled my arms from their sockets. Instead, Chelchis touched my shoulder gently and drew me close. "Not sad," Chelchis said. "A song for star sailors headed out into the dark between worlds. And wherever we walk, there is light, little brother." At this moment, I think we can see who the other possible voice of the Echo is, and it's a legendary one that has literally gone all the way back to Destiny 1: The Taken King, when Chelchis' first appearance actually took place as part of the weapons set for King's Fall. I think Chelchis is the singer inside the Echo, and I think that also makes a great deal of sense given her role in the House of Stone. Given what we can sort of glean from the Gardenway lawbook, it seems like the houses back in the day had a more clearly defined role when they were situated on Rhys. It seems as though the House of Stone in particular were a sort of defensive military force that was charged with keeping the people of Rhys safe. If that's true, then it makes sense that Chelchis is the voice in the Echo, and it's looking for an individual with the strength and determination to carry the Eliksni through this dangerous time. Chelchis would also be an excellent judge of such a steward. But more importantly, there are some other qualifiers that Chelchis satisfies. Firstly, for Chelchis to be in the Echo, she needs to have been, well, killed. She needs to have been destroyed by the Witness. And thanks to the King's Fall weapons, it seems clear that she was absolutely there at the fall of Rhys during the Whirlwind, and fell specifically facing Oryx, the Taken King. The famous line from the Doom of Chelchis scout rifle, which was the only lore we had on Chelchis for the longest time, was simply, "Where is the great machine? Where is the great machine?" This was presumably moments before she accepted defeat, and that was later confirmed by the harrowed Doom of Chelchis, which gave further words on what happened. In such a moment, the Witness would have been able to swoop in and fold Chelchis into its vast confines, thus allowing her to become a part of the final shape, and then allowing her to later be expelled as an echo upon the death of the Witness and its combination with the Traveler's Light. We also have no contrary evidence that disputes the possibility that Chelchis lies within the Echo. Examining the Variks possibility again, it seems clear that he hasn't met Chelchis, as he doesn't recognize the voice, which isn't impossible. If he was simply a scribe of the House of Judgment back in the day, that means he might not have had access to the Kells of the Great Houses. Remember, Eramis wasn't a Kell until far, far later. It took her a long time to ascend to the rank of Baron within the House of Devils, and she only became a Kell when the House of Salvation was founded. She was an infamous pirate known as the Ship Stealer, but she still wasn't a Kell, and therefore it wouldn't have been likely for Arthas and herself to be counted amongst the great houses and their great leaders back on Rhys. Varix would likely also therefore never have heard Chelchis sing, but then again, all this is a bit pedantic as points go. It's been a long time and Varix might just simply not remember the voices of anyone anymore. After all, it's been thousands of years since Rhys fell. No matter what, it seems like we know who's in the Echo this time around. There is a very small outside possibility that it is Arthas, given a lot more information and lore about her and a tragedy that has befallen her off-screen, but it feels like a far more definite thing for the memory of Chelchis, the Kell of Stone, to be what's within the Echo this time around. An Echo that, as all the others have, was given life by the expulsion of the Traveler's light. If we do find a way of tearing the Echo from Fikrul's hands, Chelchis herself may judge one amongst the Eliksni as worthy of leading them into the future, as worthy of being their great protector who will guide them through the darkness. And given that she has become both a part of the Traveler's light and a memory within the darkness of the Witness, she represents something primal to the Eliksni, a voice within the light. And this brings about once more that prophecy of the Kell of Kells, something that Fikrul is attempting to use to his advantage by raising Skolas from the dead. I feel that if one is to be judged worthy by the Echo, it will be seen as a way of satisfying the prophecy of the Kell of Kells, where all Ketches and Servitors will kneel towards them, and where the great machine itself shall proclaim one to be the Kell of Kells. Who will this figure be? My money's on Ido, but who knows? I also feel like there is a distinct interesting possibility. If someone dies, imagine for just a second if a ghost happens to be around. A proclamation from the Echo, it choosing one to be worthy of its power, and them being resurrected by the great machine. House Rain's prophecy might at last take shape. But that's all from me for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Quick note for those of you who are watching this, on the 4th of December, in a few days' time, I will be releasing my complete story of Dragon Age video. That's going to cover the prehistory of Dragon Age, the lore and story of Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, Dragon Age Inquisition, and it's going to give you a primer for Dragon Age the Veilguard if you're interested in jumping in. It's 3 hours long. It has taken me a long time. I actually didn't upload for 3 weeks back in October because I was working for so long on this, alongside Martin, who was the editor of course, and alongside Dirty F and Hippie, aka Liana Rupert, and the Ex-Walrus, both of whom assisted me with regards to actually understanding and giving the best spin on Dragon Age's lore. I'm really excited for this to be released, and there will be a premiere on December 4th. I hope that all of you come along and enjoy it. It will be another escapade into a grand new world. It's not going to be anything close to the 10-hour video that I did on Destiny, but it's still going to be very exciting, and it's one of the first times I've done this for another universe. Expect to see a whole lot more of these going forward. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and know that as always your viewership is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime my name is Byf, per audacia ad astra. I'll see you starside.